If you are a business owner or an entrepreneur, you do not want to miss this interview. We're about to sit down with Patrick Bryant, CEO of Code and Trust, serial entrepreneur, and a guy who's just so full of wisdom. He's going to walk us through how to improve your business, how to make sure your people are on the same page, motivated and excited, and how to keep doing the great things you do that lead to your business being a success. You're going to want to stick through to the very end with this one. You don't want to miss a minute. Stay tuned.
For me, I think of any of our startups, I am super engaged and energized when we have less than 10 employees. When we have more than 10 employees, there becomes a lot of management behind the proposition. And so what I try to envision for myself is getting a company to scale to 20 employees and then knowing that we can hire someone at that point to come in and really manage from that point forward. And today, Code and Trust is at 22, and we've actually got a couple of positions not filled. So we are at that place that it's time to hire a CEO and let somebody else take the reins.
So you're not going to make Sam be the fifth CEO?
Oh gosh, no! I mean, Sam only has so much time in the day, and he is a phenomenal visionary leader, great CTO for Code and Trust, but obviously with his commitments and the tremendous success of Event.Gives, I really think that's where his primary focus has got to be in the future.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, well, so, you talk about kind of a couple hurdles right here. It sounds like crossing that 10 employee threshold is a big milestone. And then it sounds like around 20 is also another big milestone. Yeah. What are the differences for a business that is crossing those milestones? I mean, I imagine you need special support staff for each of those.
You really do. As you map out your total team and think through the scale of any enterprise, you're going to be completely different at 100 employees than you were even, say, 50. It just changes the game, and 50 is different than 20. And as you keep going back, I think if you're putting too much structure in place during the first 10, you're focused on the wrong thing. You're spending time playing corporation and you don't really have the scale that you need to worry about some of that stuff. On the other hand, you always want to have a vision for where you're going and what you're accomplishing. I think it's just the speed at which you can move changes the more scale you have. All right, a publicly traded company just cannot move as quickly as a startup can, which is why many of them have teams that they specifically create partnerships to help startups spin up and grow, because they know that's where the innovation is happening. And then they'll purchase them later, or they'll invest in them, or they'll do things to help move that startup along until they're big enough to integrate into the larger corporation. So I think that's just indicative of what we end up dealing with in the early stage of a startup and that's my favorite time. I just get so energized when we're in that early stage, because everything's moving in such a fluid process that it gets really easy for me to just be like, oh, we're going to do this today? Okay, that's what we're doing today. And tomorrow we can change our mind and we can go in a different direction and test something else. And so I love that fluid space. As you get toward a 5-year strategic plan, which is very much needed and important in growing to the next scale, when you get there, I lose some of the thing that makes me get super excited in the morning, because we know the playbook. We know somewhat where we're going to go. And now GoToTeam's 25 years old and has a 10-year strategic plan at the moment. Well, that's that's my baby. I saw it when it had 0 employees, right? Me and Dwayne Scott. And that was a lot of fun. As I look at a 10-year strategic plan, I'm thrilled to be involved. I'm thrilled to have input and see what that would look like. But showing up to execute on that 10-year plan is not what my best use is. Sean Moffitt, who runs Go-To Team and our broadcast companies, he is amazing at that and so much better than I am. He's focused, he's disciplined, he knows how to execute on a daily basis and motivate people in that way. And that's why I love having him as a partner, because we balance that out.
I mean, it really sounds like, you found the piece that you are best at, and then, there's the piece that Sean is best at and Sam is the best at, and y'all are able to operate in that capacity to do your best and bring the best to these businesses. And the thing that I'm wondering is, okay, so think about like a team like Event Gives, where they're growing. I think when we met them, 7 folks, and then now it's like 10, 12, something like that. So they're starting to stretch past one of those milestones. When do you get to the point where people transfer over from you're wearing 6 hats to you can do the thing that you are best at? Can you feel that or sense when that's happening?
100%. And I have very clear markers for myself. I realize that I like it when we are at that space that I have to do all the hats. Like, I enjoy that. Now, I'm not saying I like having partners. I'm not good at all things. So Andrew Strickland, for instance, is incredibly good at sales, and I really rely on his expertise in that area. And so I'm not saying that I have to be good at all things. I'm saying that I like businesses when I'm at that place that I can pick and work on the things that I want to work on, and then slowly, over a couple of years, scale to a point that I'm peeling off the things that I'm not good at or that I don't want to do. And that to me is fun. I enjoy that because you're constantly growing yourself out of a job. It's almost like you're getting a promotion every month. It's that, as you're hiring people, you're like, oh my gosh, I just, I was doing that email blast every month. And now I get to, hire somebody that's really good at that to do it. And now we're going to execute on it better. And I get to go focus more and more on the unique skill part of the job for me. And that goes back to what you just said, which is in Forum, we do a retreat exercise, which I'm in Forum through the Harbor Entrepreneur Center and EO, who I'm a member. They have forum groups, and I recommend all entrepreneurs be in a forum. And one of our retreat exercises is around your unique skill, like really diving in and understanding what is it that you're bringing to the table that no one else brings to the table as well as you. And so we do a lot of deep dive on what you think your unique skill is, what the other people in the room think your unique skill is, and honing that so that you can go into a situation knowing, okay, today I've got to do 10 tasks and maybe only 3 of them are my unique skill. But as we scale and grow, I'm going to continue to peel off the pieces so that ultimately I get to a place where I like it to be within 2 years. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4, but we get to a business where I am only doing my unique skill. And everyone else has their place and they're doing their unique skill and they're able to grow the company, at which point I can go, okay, now I realize the company around me has outgrown my unique skill, which is being at 0 and knowing the next right thing to do. And when I'm in that place, I can say, we know what we're going to do. We know what we're executing on. We have a really fantastic team that's moving that forward. Now it's time for someone else to manage that team. And when that happens, I know that moment and I feel it. And sometimes they do too. I joke that at 10 employees, I want to leave. And at 20, my company wants me to leave because I don't babysit well. I don't want to have certain conversations around where the long-term strategic vision is fun to me, but the implementation on a daily basis can become a grind for me. But I've learned that there are other people that love that. Right? There are people in the world, I didn't know this as a young entrepreneur. There are people in the world that want a to-do list, and they want to get up in the morning and cross off those things on the to-do list.
I think more people than you realize want that.
And I don't even want a to-do list. I think that to me is a lot of fun. As you scale the company, you get to go through that process. And then there are people that want to take over the company at that point and run it in a really good way, and that's what makes it great.
It's really fun to hear these different perspectives that you're seeing things at, because obviously you have made a huge skill set for yourself with these companies, in the building that you're in. I almost can't keep track. Is it 7 different businesses in there right now?
Oh gosh, I'd have to count myself.
There's a lot.
Yeah, Bricari, The Q, Event.Gives, Go-To Team,
Crew Mama,
Assignment Desk, Crew Mama, the broadcast companies, of course, Code and Trust.
Yeah.
I think we just named 7. That sounds right.
I think it's been really kind of funny because so we've got a small team. We're not up to the 10 people yet, and so when we started, of course, the 2 of us, we were doing everything. And then we got this team, and that was like, oh my God, we are able to do more, better, faster. That was incredible. And at first we were saying, kind of what you were saying, like, everyone stick to what you do. Like, the whole goal is to do that. And then now we're like, I need you to wear this hat, and this one too, and this one too. And now everybody has 4 or 5. And one of our editors said, I thought this was just an editing job. And I said, of course, that's the goal, is we want to get you to the point where you're only doing the thing that you love and want to do all day. We're a small business. We can't do that. Is that something that you noticed is tricky for people that don't have the experience that you do to go, oh, this is normal. I'm going to wear this hat for a while, then give it to someone when I can. Is it hard for growing businesses to really separate, do your best, what you're expert at, and then we need you to do more?
I think it's a communication thing with employees. It happens when you're in the startup. You are going to hire a certain type of employee that is looking for excitement and autonomous ability to move without a lot of restriction by a supervisor. You're going to find people that are seeking those roles. And as you grow the company, you're going to end up hiring more and more people that aren't thinking quite as entrepreneurially, because by definition, they're looking for something more stable, right? And so as the company grows into say a publicly traded company all the way up to that level, now you're getting people that are looking for a very stable position. They want to do their one thing and that's it, and not wear all those other hats. And so I think it's just a matter of thinking of it as the spectrum, right? And we say this a lot at Code and Trust because there's a lot of spectrums in tech, where in the case of, let's say, security, if you're a publicly traded company moving someone's medical records, you've got to have security figured out, and you got to do it correctly, and it's going to cost a lot of money. On the other hand, if you're a startup that's doing a new piece of software and we're moving as quickly as we can, and let's say it's a video posting app, we might not need much security at all. We could spin that up in a weekend. And that, to me, is something that on that spectrum, Code and Trust realizes, understands, and can help a startup, versus some software development companies want to swing the same size security for every application, right? And so what we are able to do is say, hey, for what you're doing, you need to be like a 3 on this spectrum, not a 10, not a 0. We're in a 3, right? But then we're working on an app in connection with MUSC and CDC, and we've done a number of medical apps, and now we're talking about people's data. And Event.Gives, we're talking about a lot of people's data. And we really need to store it correctly and make sure that it has total security. So I think that's where we learn on the spectrum, and that's to the discussion of the size of a company and the employee and how they feel about it. It's training, and it's helping them understand, look, we're a startup. I want you to come here, but I need you to be a little entrepreneurial. I need you to take on things. I need you to be a self-starter. I can't talk to you every single morning to make sure that you know where we're going. I'm going to have to paint a broad picture for you, and I'm going to have to get out of the way and hope that you get all these things accomplished, right? And if we get it right, then you're going to know what you need to know enough to take the field by yourself. And that's exciting for a lot of people. They want that autonomy to be able to make decisions and move very quickly. And that's fun. And so I do think one of the beauties of Code and Trust is we attract those kind of people that want autonomy, want to work on entrepreneur projects, want to be fluid in the ideas that they can bring to the table versus coding for a publicly traded company where they're going to tell you, this is what we're doing. We already have the box. Thank you. We already have an entrepreneur. He founded the company 22 years ago. They want you to stay in a certain place. And that's the fun for me in startups with employees, is because you give them a lot of autonomy, and the ones that thrive, it's a lot of fun to watch.
I've kind of noticed that talking to the few folks in Code and Trust that I know. One of the guys went through your coding school and then is now in there, he was saying that, Tori, right? Troy. Yeah, he was saying that the coolest thing is he gets to work on a variety of projects, and then so you can kind of see, okay, these people need a little bit of help with this. These people are pretty sure what they need. These guys really need creativity. And he said that he has learned so much, and being able to put his skills into action right away is just so cool. He was saying that, like, at those big ones, like you said, it's very much in a box. Like, here, just do this, and it's so boring. And Reese was saying that, like, he's known people from the team that's gone over there, and they're just like, it's good money, but I could care less. Like, I mean, this is so boring. And the team I would say, not just at Code and Trust, but everybody in your building, they're so excited. They're so passionate, and putting their mark on a project they're working on is so special to them. Right. Is that what you think one of the things that makes Code and Trust so neat, that people can put their mark and be like, look, I did this, I built this?
The magic sauce to Code and Trust is that we give autonomy and teach to think like entrepreneurs to all the staff, because the reality is we're working on a startup exercise, and no one else has done this startup before. There is no blueprint. There is no requirements doc. We are writing it from the very beginning. And in doing so, it creates a place of excitement where you're like, oh, no one's ever done this before. What are we going to do? But it also comes with the responsibility of ensuring that you're really protecting that startup and the budget and the people that are working on it, to get them as far as we possibly can on their dollar, versus like, oh, well, they're a big corporation. They can just spend money all day long. It's like, no, man, these guys, they got $200,000. And if they don't get to revenue by 150, there is no way they're going to make it in the course. And you're really holding them up and trying to get a great product. It is fun that we think of our coders as heads-up coders, which means they're not just coding in a box by themselves looking at requirement stock. They are looking downfield. Who's the client? Who's going to use this? What is the experience going to be like? And being able to raise their hand and say, hey, you told me to put the board over here. You told me to put the button over here. But now that I'm doing it, I could save the user 4 clicks if I did it like this. And this is an important feature set. Or Sam is particularly good at saying, that's a good idea to the entrepreneur. You know, that's a good idea from a software perspective, but it's going to take a lot to build that. And we don't know that your client cares yet. Mm-hmm. So maybe we should just put a button there that says coming soon and see if people click it. And if they click it to get notified when that feature's there, then we'll build it. But before that, we're going to not spend the money on building out that whole feature set to see if your client really cares for it.
Knowing when and how to push back and affectionately confront a client with what they asked for and say, you know, I hear that you're asking for this. What I really think you're getting at is this. That is so challenging, but it's the mark of someone that actually cares about what they're working for. I can't tell you how many times we've had a project where the client asks us to do something and we go, okay, I hear you, and you're saying this. What I think you really want is this thing over here. Now, just to let you know, if we were to do the thing that you say, it's going to compromise the product, and here's how. And in the past, people would say, oh, well, that's what I want. Do what I want. Like, I'm paying you to do what I want. But now people go, oh, I think we've gotten better at explaining that. We've gotten better at showing people examples. And when you are relying on another business to help you with this critical part of the income and the future of the business, you need someone who is heads up and not, well, you asked for the box on the left, I'm going to make you the box on the left, nothing more, nothing less.
Right. And I think being opinionated at our stage of the game is really important because we'll save people a lot of money. We played the game before. We can help them navigate in some really rough waters, and we can help make them a lot easier. And so we come to it opinionated, and we have thoughts on what the most important thing is and how that should move forward. Now, having said that, once we take on a client and we feel like it's going to move forward, of course we're listening. Right. And they know more than us about their client, about who's buying the product, perhaps their marketing plan. They sure as hell know more than us about their budget. So what can we do to help them see where the rocks are? But at the end of the day, they're the entrepreneur. They got to be the ones to decide how to navigate that. When we talk to companies in the accelerator, we talk about advice a lot and mentor whiplash, I call it, because when you're doing a startup, everybody wants to tell you which way you should go, what you're doing wrong, how you could make it easier, and you might just pitch them your 1-minute elevator speech, and then they'll go, oh, I had an idea once. Let me tell you this whole other thing that isn't useful to your exercise at all. And because everybody has an opinion on which direction you should go to. And the way I like to think of it is you are an entrepreneur and you're at the top of a cliff. And there are people around you communicating with you about whether you're going to jump. And the first people you might encounter are your experts, your accounting, marketing, lawyers. These are people that clearly know subject matter expertise that is very important to you. And they will look off of that cliff and they will say, do not jump. This, I've seen people jump before. You can die jumping here. Now, not everyone that's jumped has died, but I have seen people die. And they will say, well, there's rocks down there and it's not deep enough. And they'll tell you all these, tragic things about you jumping. And you as the entrepreneur, you have to take that in the lens that it comes, which is their job in life is to mitigate risk. Their job is to know where the rocks are. And that is completely valid data. that you need to listen to up until the point that they said, don't jump. Because now they have lensed their knowledge with their opinion on whether or not you should do the exercise. And the reality is you should do the exercise. You should learn. You have to jump. This is what you do. You're an entrepreneur. On the other hand, you're going to have these mentors that are people that have started companies, and they're going to go, look, just jump. I don't know where the rocks are. I don't know how deep it is, but I jumped. I'm fine. Just do it, right? And you need to use them as energy that is motivation. I'm going to jump. I'm going to do this. This guy told me I can do it. I can do it. So you really have to take everybody's input for what it is and accept that in the case of Code and Trust, when we're coming to the table, we realize we're subject matter experts. We're going to give you some data. We also have jumped many times, so we'll try to give you a little motivation. But at the end of the day, you're the one that's jumping. So you got to decide for yourself. Do you know enough about how deep it is? Do you know enough about where the rocks are? I only need about 30% of the data before I jump. But there are entrepreneurs in the world that need 70, and that's okay. I don't fault them, and they might have a better hit-win ratio than me. But I know for myself, I have learned that is the process. I'm up here. I'm the one that's going to jump. I need to listen to everybody's input. And then at the end of the day, I need to make the decision, can we jump right now? And if the answer is yes, then we're going to have some fun.
I'm starting to realize that entrepreneurs are sick and twisted individuals because the story that motivated you to go down this road was one of those jump and I died. And I like how you climbed back up to the top of the cliff and said, oh, I died last time and I'm jumping off again.
That's exactly right. Yeah, my birth story, superhero story for entrepreneurship was that at 17 years old, my dad walked in to tell me that they were filing bankruptcy in a business they had started 2 years earlier. And it was the deepest, darkest pain I've ever felt as an entrepreneur. Now at this point, I'm 17. My dad had started this newspaper. He was an expert in newspapers. I had a great amount of faith in it. And I had never done anything in startups, neither had he. And I invested $2,500 of my own money. I learned to be a graphic designer. I got so much out of starting that business. But here we are 2 years later, I'm 17 and we're filing bankruptcy. And what I didn't know is that it would implode our entire family. We would lose our house, they would get divorced, and I would go through this incredibly painful experience of balancing the most amazing thing that I've ever felt in my life, this startup, the energy, the excitement, me learning all this new stuff. It is so much fun. And now it has imploded everything that was stable in my life. And I did take away from that. I remember telling a friend that I was going to start businesses when I was 17 and when I was 20 and when I was 24 and just keep going until I had a successful business. I wasn't going to wait until I was 52 years old like my dad did to start his first business. I knew it was my thing and I needed to go do it. And a lot like someone who almost drowns and then becomes an Olympic swimmer, I used it as, no, this was fun. It sucks that this is where we're at, but I'm not going to stay here long. I'm going to figure out the next piece. So for me, it was that moment that I learned, okay, I can do this. I can start a business. I can generate revenue for myself. I can figure these things out. And I started a very different business, though, at 17 than the scale and the innovation and the ability to launch companies in a very quick process now. You're talking to me 30 years after that happened. And so I'm a very different person with a very different skill set and a different way of looking at the world to who I was when I was 17. And the business I started was a one-man shop, graphic design. I still had the blessing, even during our bankruptcy, we ended up with a couple of the computers from the newspaper. And I was able to use those computers and the used minivan from the newspaper to go around town and create a graphic design firm selling my own time, which selling your own time is a place you might start as an entrepreneur. And that is okay. I'm not some sort of person that thinks, oh, well, now that I've done it, everyone should just do a startup that has great innovation and scale. It's like, no, that's not where everyone is at. And what I try to tell entrepreneurs is start where you are at. If you don't have to go to the highest mountain to jump, like just find a place that you can get comfortable jumping, and take a couple of jumps. And then later, you'll get to a place that you can do that next level. Some people have a skill set, especially software is one of those areas right now that if you have that software skill set and some entrepreneurship, you're almost by definition diving into a place that has innovation and scale, right? Just like a person that goes through and gets their doctorate in a medical field, they now have the ability to, if they have entrepreneurial ability, they could go straight into something that's very innovation driven, very scalable. So I think there are opportunities that some people, by their knowledge set and by the things they've done in life, they might be able to go straight up to a higher diving board, right? But some of us, especially journalism's been really good to us, see students. And I didn't have those things, and I had a skill set of being able to design things graphically, and the best way to do that without having any money asset, just some used computers, was to get to work and sell myself as a graphic designer, and so that was my first business.
I love that, and I love that your focus was get to work, so we talk about this all the time, how there is such a bevy of bizarre perceptions when it comes to being an entrepreneur, starting a business, running a business. I'll never forget this conversation in this very house that we had, and this was when we had kind of just moved here, broke, did not know what we're doing, we're barely making enough to survive, literally. I think we had to bring in outdoor furniture because we didn't have indoor furniture for people to sit on.
Sure.
And then so one of my old friends was saying, well, what's this business thing? And I told him what we did, and I said, but there's just so much work. There's more work than two people can do. So I'm at the point where I'm trying to cut everything out of my life that is not work. I don't even get ready in the morning. I wake up, put on pants and a shirt, get to work immediately. And then his wife goes, God, I wish I could work in my pajamas. And I'm like, that's what you hear? Me saying I'm putting in 12, 14-hour days, that's what you hear?
Yeah.
But so I want to ask you, because you've done this, you've seen this, at different stages of your life. You've worked on all these different business. At Code and Trust, you guys are working on these different businesses. EO, you're plugged into these businesses that are over the hurdle. And in fact, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't they more focused on running the business better and enjoying your life more? They're more...
A lot of that. It depends on the entrepreneur.
Certainly.
Some entrepreneurs want to build a lifestyle business, which is a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
And some entrepreneurs want to create a startup and scale and really grow well past that, and take on investors and help other people make money and all those things. So I just think there's different games. It's almost like saying in entrepreneurship, everything is soccer. It's like, no, this guy wants to play baseball, and that's cool. There are different rules to the game. A lot of times people will get frustrated that somebody is either taking investment or not taking investment. It's like, yeah, that guy's he's playing a different game than you are. There's no judgment that he's taking a bunch of investors. He probably will make those people a lot of money if he does it ethically and grows in a positive way. absolutely do that. On the other hand, there's plenty of people who are like, I don't want any investors. I don't want anybody telling me what to do. I don't care. I would rather run my company the way I want to run it and have it be worth $5 million than to worry about having investors, even if I could grow into a $500 million company. And that is okay too.
Yeah. So looking at something like EO or the Harbor Entrepreneur Center, and then comparing that with the CEOs and the founders that are in the accelerator. Most of the people, all of the people in the accelerator, we haven't made it over that hump yet where we're like, gosh, we got more money than we know what to do with. It's time to scale. And I think that to all of us seems like the promised land. And because we're new on that end, of course, it sounds like, oh, fantasy, life will be so easy. What they don't know is once you get to that point, it unlocks a whole new set of challenges, a whole new set of complications. But what are the things that it's taken you and other entrepreneurs years to discover that people at our phase like desperately need to know that will put them in another bracket of success, productivity?
I think there are these different stages of the process, and or again, depending on, are you going for a lifestyle business or are you going for a scalable, investable business? Those two are a good definition change where you got to decide that. And matter of fact, you can change your mind. You can be in a lifestyle business. You can decide to grow it in another way, and you can absolutely be in a scalable business that you kind of pull back and say, hey, I just want to spend cash out, right? So you're never stuck that it's a linear path of growth. But there are definitely stages, and that really comes more with number of employees, amount of revenue, and really the growth and speed, as velocity at which the company is growing. Those things are really more in control, and you can decide for yourself how fast you want that to be going. There are some definite cheat codes. There are easy things you can do to skip entire stages if you want to. There are fantastic entrepreneurs that I follow online that I'm impressed by that are very good at starting up businesses that have no employees. And that to me is just an unbelievable skill set. And especially digitally, there's a lot of opportunity there. And so I think learning to be able to build the type of business that you have fun building and the roller coaster that you want to go on and your family members want to go on, that is an important trait. I mean, most of the time I realize I live in kind of a weird space of having multiple startups and done it a number of times. But I would tell any entrepreneur in the business that they're in, like, you can change that business right now. If you want to pivot off to the side and have less employees and more free time, you can. If you want to have more revenue and that's your biggest goal in life, then that might mean that you're going to end up having more employees, or maybe you're going to change the business model entirely. I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and consult them they're in a business, it's doing X, but with those same clients and this same expertise, could we pivot it so that we change the business model into something that is scalable, innovative, and growable? And that many times involves software. But if you, let me give you an example. If you had a graphic design firm, myself, I'm 17 again, and I've got no employees and a bunch of clients and they really love me, then I got a couple of paths I can take now. I can take that additional work and hire additional people and scale up a firm. That's a path. Or I could also invent a piece of software that graphic design artists need. Because I know graphic design, I know what they need, I know what I'm looking for. I have some clients that I could even pitch that graphic design app to. I probably know other graphic designers in the community. I can pitch the app to them. I can pivot entirely with a piece of software and stay in my same lane, but put myself in a position that I now have changed the trajectory of my business and what it's going to look like. And both of those are right answers. I mean, I don't think either is wrong, but it is not difficult if you're stuck in that business to pivot and find the next place out. Our broadcast company, Go-To Team, fantastic company. I'm so proud of it. It turns 25 this year. We've worked so hard to make that a company that we can be proud of, and our employees are just unbelievably good at their jobs. I mean, talk about unique skill. We've got 16 of the most talented directors of photography in the United States work for our company. And that's not an exaggeration. I mean, they're shooting the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I am thrilled by that business. And we've used that business to complete and create a piece of software called Crew Mama. And Crew Mama allows all crew members in the United States to post their profile, get connected, get on shoots, and help move their careers forward. And it all came from what we had learned from helping directors of photography get shoots. Now we're saying, well, how can we help a makeup artist get shoots? How can we help a sound person get shoots? And the software does that in a really scalable, innovative, terrific way to help solve a problem in the community. And so that can change the game for that particular business. Now, we're not going to pivot away from our primary objective with Go-To Team, which is shooting incredibly good stories and broadcast content. On the other hand, we're also creating this innovation that is going to help the community in really big ways and can scale as its own company.
I think I'm starting to see why you enjoy this earlier phase of a business, when it's small and maneuverable, because I mean, you just talk about your experience with this one business, and then it literally, you spun off a need into a completely other business. And to me, that is it's a level of strategy that someone like me is like, maybe in a few years. Because for me, like, working on and growing on one business is incredible, but to see the need for that, when you're a rookie entrepreneur just starting, you have to say, there is a huge goal, there's a huge need later, because we run into stuff. So we talk to experts like yourself, and what we've been noticing in our field, digital marketing, like marketing, being a marketing manager for a business, there's a lot of skills that people need, and the most expert, trained, knowledgeable, talented people I met, they still don't have all the skills that I need. A lot of people, they've got 2 or 3 and they need 8. And then so what we've been talking about is, God, we know all the people who've got the web design experts, the copywriting experts, the ad spend experts, the video production experts. Could we put together a course for these marketing managers who are like, my boss asked me to do all this stuff. I can't tell them I don't have the skills because they'll fire me. But that's a very real concern. I feel like a lot gets dumped on a marketing manager, or they see, this 6-figure ad campaign and they go, can you make us this for $200? And it's like, how do I say no?
Right.
But yeah, so I love that you're able to kind of see these needs and then just create another business to support Go-To Team. I mean, because 25 years, that's incredible. And we actually had the pleasure to work with Go-To Team for an event that Event Gives did, the NAA, National Auctioneers Association, I believe. It was so easy. They gave us an obscene amount of good footage. It took us a week to sift through it. And I mean, yeah, there's so much good stuff, but that was a pleasure. And our fantasy is that any remote filming, we could bring someone like Go-To Team in, because like, God, that's so nice to know okay, my director of photography, they know what they're doing. They got the right equipment. They're ready to go. Send it to us. We'll edit it. We love behind the computer stuff, you know, that's where our skill set lies. Well, so let me ask you, you did talk about a couple of hacks that you said are useful to these early entrepreneurs. It could be down this vein, but here's one thing that I'm surprised I have to tell other entrepreneurs that are brand new, and maybe you know this intimately, but the advice that I often give to the cohort is, you know, like people ask us, we just got asked the other day, so, you know, should we pivot? Should we pivot to this thing? Because I know this has a possibility, but this thing has got an opportunity. And my question is, what's going to get you money fastest?
Sure.
And
yes, the money follows the client need though. Oh. And if you solve the client need, then you know you have something that you should be going down that road. I believe the number one way to make money is to make someone else a lot more money. So always be asking, who's the client? Who could use this? Is it useful? And listen to them as they give you feedback when they buy that product. I think that is just is core principle. It's not a hack. It's just, you know, how can I go find a potential client, have a conversation with them, bring them back a product, see if that product is a fit. And if it is, then now I'm in a relationship and I have something that I can really work on. And so I think if I'm a business and I have the opportunity to pivot, the question isn't, should I pivot? The question is, how have the conversations with your potential clients gone? And if the answer is, man, they love it and they'll pay double for that, then this thing I'm selling, what are we talking about? Of course, go do it. You're solving a client need that is clearly more valuable to them than your original proposition.
I like that. And that's hard for a lot of people to kind of manage all of that. One, I mean, you have to be open to feedback. You have to hear painful things, and you have to be ready to really kind of pivot on a dime and go above and beyond to make the client happy. I noticed that for us, it took a while for us to get comfortable saying, that is something that we don't do. And it breaks my heart because it's like, of course, you hired me to help. I want to do everything that we can for you. That being said, you're going to get the best out of what we do if we stay in our lane.
Right. That's right. I think the first rule is take action, right? Fail fast, get into the world, do your thing, test it out, listen to people. You know, action has to happen first. If you're not taking action, then you're not moving it forward. On the other hand, it's so funny to me, the schizophrenic nature of entrepreneur advice, because you hear fail fast, right? Get in there, do it, go move forward, find the failure point. On the other hand, there are literally entrepreneurial posters that have Winston Churchill saying, never, never, never give up. Now, how am I supposed to reconcile fail fast with never give up? This makes no sense whatsoever, except for the fact we're saying failure isn't giving up. And that's what people miss, is we can launch a product, we can put it in front of clients, and if clients don't like it, we will ball it up, throw it in the trash, create another product, and hand it to the same clients. And that's not giving up. They're thinking that the entire exercise is what we're walking away from, and we're not. We're just walking away from this particular idea that we had. And I think that's one of the things that entrepreneurs, the good ones, get, is their ideas are not gold, right? They're willing to take an idea, throw it into the world, fight for it, beat on it, work on it really hard, and then go, this idea does not define me. It's not going that great. Get it out of here. Next idea, right? And just go on to the next piece. I have written business plans for companies that I didn't start, that I then put in the desk drawer and thought, I'll have time for that later, or I didn't really get the market traction I wanted, so I'm just going to hang on to that idea for another day. Then I saw another company successfully launch it. And I thought, the ego in us wants to say, I had that idea first. No. You just told yourself, I have great ideas, and even when I don't implement them, they can be successful. Your idea is still valid. You didn't in any way have the idea first. Every idea is an iteration on someone else's idea. But the timing, the market, the ability to move that idea forward, that team, they had something you didn't have. And that's okay. That doesn't make you any less weak. It doesn't make your ideas any more powerful. It only means that they were able to make it successful, and good for them. So you can just say, hey, look, I've had these ideas that have really found success out in the world, and that's fantastic. The key is taking your idea, putting it in the world, see if you can get traction around it, and if you can't, understanding this idea, while a good idea, isn't going to find its moment here with me today. I'm going to go get the next idea. And I do that all the time in life in general. I mean, there's just things where I'm constantly having ideas. And so I'll pitch the idea to a nonprofit that I'm working with, or I'll pitch the idea to one of the companies that we're involved in. And sometimes people go, that's brilliant. I think we could run with that. And other times they go, we hit this challenge, that challenge. Okay, look, I'm not going to spend a lot of time fighting you on whether or not this is a good idea. I'm just going to either move forward with it or not. So the key is to listen to the potential client and see if it's a fit to solve their problem. And if it's not, then don't force your idea on them.
I really like that. And one thing that I'm thinking is your muscle to be passionate and excited and throw yourself into something, and then the next day is got to be rock solid. You've been flexing this muscle for years. And so I know for me, like I've got it. We had this one project, that I thought it was going to be a perfect fit for a client. We spent a month building it, and then the client goes, nah. And then my teammate who had been, spearheading this, she goes, that was a month of work. And I said, I know, it hurts me just as much as it hurts you, but we got to drop it. I need your help over here. And she went, okay. And I went, oh, thank you.
You're describing my early life in broadcast television. There were times in the early days, Dwayne Scott and I were two guys in a truck. We had none of the scale we have today. We were struggling to get on any kind of shoot. And we would get booked by NBC News, and they would have us go shoot a day's worth of shooting. And we got paid for it. And we would do an entire package for nightly news. And then at the end of the day, we would go to a bar or our houses, and we would put on nightly news. And we were excited because we were like, oh my gosh, we work for nightly news. Can't wait to see our piece on air tonight. And we'd watch the whole newscast and our piece wouldn't air. And we would be completely deflated because it was like, the money's good, but we really want to see our work on air. This is what we are here for, is to produce good journalism and see it on air. But because of some other news story being more important in that particular day, we would get bumped. Now, what we didn't know at the time was by being relatively new to the scene and not super veterans that had been on every news assignment, we weren't getting the most important news assignments. We were getting the second and third tier news assignment. So gradually over time, we start getting on the really important news assignments, and our stuff's on air every night. And to this day, a ton of what we shoot airs constantly. It'd be impossible to have not seen our footage. But back then, we weren't that. And I can completely sympathize with, I just want my idea in the world. I just want people to see my work. I want it to be relevant, even if I'm, making money. I still want to be relevant. And the key is to accept. I went out there. I shot the best I can today. I did everything we were supposed to do, and the client's happy, and that's our win for today. And later, when we've put in enough reps, everyone will be listening to us every single time, right? But we haven't put in those reps yet. So we don't get that payoff until we put in more reps and move up the chain.
That is such a wonderful mindset. And I think that's something that a lot of people starting out, it's so hard to live that like, this is not the end product. We are building the thing that will get us the crazy goal that we want. It's not here yet, but we have to do that anyways. And there's this phrase in the video editing world where they say, or in the channel building world, where they say, make 100 bad videos.
Yeah, sure.
Because if your goal is just to make a video and it's bad, well, you're going to accidentally make one that's good one of these days. But you're allowing yourself to fail, to take a loss for this battle, but how much more are you going to learn by taking the loss now and continuing to go on after that? I love that idea.
And you'll never get, you just never get there if you don't start doing the thing.
That's right.
And whatever the thing is, just start doing it, get out and take action. And then from there, be willing to learn. Why did video 42 do better than video 46, right? And now you're able to start analyzing your process and say, okay, I want more 42 style videos. Those are the ones that are working. And it might be something completely out of trend to what the rest of society is doing, but your style brings something important to 42. Right, that people are attracted to, and you need to go focus on that. And that's that client interaction. That's that ability to say, am I providing value in what I'm producing? And in the case of social media, people are telling you 42 is what they want to see more from you, and you need to figure out how to do more of that. And as you do, then you'll increase your views, your revenue, whatever your marker of success for that particular thing is.
That's the part that I think we love the most, and that has been shockingly absent from our competitors in the field, is people's ability to say, we're going to put out 10 videos. 2 of them are going to hit, and 1 of them is really going to be a home run. Yeah. And that's okay. It's okay to miss the mark 8 times when you get one video that does not stop growing. And so we were, building our presentation for the Harbor Accelerator the other day, improving it off of, a couple months ago. And there's a video that we built. Do you know Bulldog Tours, John Laverne?
Of course. I love John. And he's one of the funniest people in Charleston.
Oh man, he's freaking hilarious. And his business is amazing. I worked for him in college. That was my dream job. And I told everybody, if I could do this full time, I would, but you can't take ghost tours full time. Go figure. At night, it's kind of the best time to do it. But so he's made this incredible company. It's kind of the only tour company that I recommend for people because I know they're going to have a good time. He allows his guides to have fun with it. And then the guides, they may tell the similar story, or they may tell the same story that a dozen other guides are, but because they found something that's exciting to them, they did the research, they had something weird happen on another night, they can take these people through these experiences. It's so much fun. But anyways, we made John this series of videos years ago. We haven't touched him in 2.5 years, not $1 of ad spend behind him. And then so one of them, it had 23,000 views. Pretty great, right? That's sure. For 0 ad spend, that's not too shabby.
That's great.
And then so we were just looking at it again, and Taylor's like, wait a minute, it's got 28,000 views now. it's only been 2 months. It had 5,000 views in 2 months? How is that possible? We don't even know how it's possible. But I mean, this thing is a home run. Then you can scroll way down the list, and there are videos we put up for him that have 200 views. But knowing that you have something that's growing and will continue to grow forever, I mean, that is so much fun. And it's worth putting in the work to not hit the mark when you hit the mark. It's so good. Yeah. And it's always been weird to me how other folks in the sphere, I don't know if they don't care about the metrics or they're not willing to fail as much as we are or something. I don't know. What do you think that is? Like, why is there a difference between folks that are just putting out videos, whatever, not really learning, and then the folks that are going for the home runs?
I think if you measure and set a goal, you are going to move forward, right? And I'm a big believer in goals, BHAGs, missions, values. These are very important things for every organization. I don't need them to have the corporate structure around them. I tend to work with organizations that are more fluid than that. Our organizations have BHAGs. They have specific goals that we're going after, and they have metrics that we're tracking. We just might be pretty easy about how we want to get to that data and what the goals are compared to the big corporate structure of a TPS report. We would never prescribe to that. But BHAGs are crucial. They set for a team exactly where we're going. And a lot of times in a business, it's very unclear to the employee and maybe perhaps management exactly what we are doing other than producing revenue for the owner / shareholders. And that's not a great place to be. I'm quite interested. Like, for me, that isn't the marker that we should be paying attention to. What we want to know is that we have a goal that is making a difference in the community of people that we're there to serve. And it doesn't matter if we're a nonprofit or we're a for-profit that's scaling, or a for-profit that's a fixed size firm that doesn't really want to grow. Any of those things, we need a clear vision of how we are going to better serve the community that we showed up to. And in the case of our BHAGs and our businesses, I have several rules. They have to be very clear, that easy to understand, that every employee in the organization, and customers for that matter, some customers can articulate what the goal is. And I need to be able to walk up to anybody in the organization and say, what's the goal of the company right now? Oh, our goal is to have 25 offices around the United States. Why do we need 25 offices around the state? Because we provide a really great service, and the more local we are, the more that we'll be able to help more of our customers. If they can articulate that, I guarantee you that company is moving toward that goal.
So every employee should be able to identify and reason why the BHAG is there.
Exactly. I think every employee should know the master goal of the company, the mission, the values, and the goal. And they should be able to articulate why we're going after that goal. And then the next piece is that they have to be accomplishable in a reasonable time frame to the scale of the company. If we're at 1 or 2 employees, that goal could be achieved in 6 months. If we're at 50 employees, that goal might need to take 10 years, because we want something that is really going to stretch us out there, really going to move us forward. But either way, it's got to be accomplishable to that scale. Mm-hmm. And then that leads to the next point, which is it needs to force us to invent new technology. And that's the most exciting part to me personally, is when I'm crafting a goal, I want to look at what we're already doing, what we're already capable of doing, And then what would it look like if we did something that we had to invent new technology? My favorite speech ever in that regard, of course, is John F. Kennedy. We go to the moon and do the other thing, right? Not because it is easy, but because it is hard. And the point being that there was a specific deadline. By the end of the decade, we will be on the moon. And we had people and resources devoted to the goal. We knew that we had to invent new technology. There was nothing that made us believe that on day one we could fly to the moon. It was, we have these goals, we'll have to launch a satellite, we'll have to do all these things. And along the way, we're going to have to invent a lot of new technology. And so with companies, I am constantly trying to do that in our goals, to say of what we can accomplish now, we're going to have to invent new technology to get to that goal. Now that's exciting because along the way, somewhere, let's say our goal is to do 500 widgets, and right now we're only doing 12. We are going to have to learn a lot of shit to get to 500, and we're going to have to invent some new technology. We're going to have to really get to a place that we understand this better than anyone else. Because let's assume no one in South Carolina is doing 500 widgets. This is going to make us the largest in South Carolina. Is our goal to be the largest in South Carolina? No. Our goal is to help the most number of clients with our unique capability that it possibly can be. And we're going to have to invent new technology to get there. And to me, that is the key to the goal, right? They can understand it. It's accomplishable. We're inventing new technology, and it's on a specific, measurable timeline that everybody can understand. We're doing 12 widgets right now. We want to be at 500 widgets. We think it'll take us this long to get there. We're going to set that goal, and now we're going to track it on a board that every employee can see. We are at 12 widgets. Hey, look, guys, great month. We are now at 22. We're on the way, right? It's a great year. We're now at 100. We're in year 4. We're at 450. Everyone has their sight on the goal, and they now know how to accomplish it.
Real quick, and when you guys list out what a BHAG is?
It's funny you say that. Yeah, a BHAG is a big, hairy, audacious goal. And usually it's something that is not easily tangible, but it requires pushing, stretching, growing of the business, of the capabilities. Is that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, as Jim Callens is the father of the BHAG term, and it is really, to me, the goal an organization needs to set for itself that the entire group can rally around and push it forward and create new technology to grow into a place they've just never been before.
I can absolutely see that in the Event Gives team. Working with them has been a wonderful experience because first of all, it was kind of funny, like getting to know the team. They're such a big team. They all wear so many hats. Literally, I think half of their job titles have changed in the brief period of time that we've been working with them. And the tagline has changed. It was volunteer powered. And that confused us when we started because we see this big team and we're like, you're all volunteers here? What's happening? And then the new tagline is fanatic about event success, and good Lord, is that a fact? I mean, you see the team and they're so excited, and I had the pleasure of sitting in a team meeting where they recapped a big event that happened, and the way that I described it is these girls are like a hurricane of energy, productivity. This, we can do it better. We can improve it next time. And Sam is the eye of the storm, just sitting there calmly asking a question here and there. And this team is so excited to improve what they're doing. It's inspiring to watch. And it makes me think of our own team, and they are all fanatical about event success. And I thought, my God, like we've been trying to do that with our own team, instill some ideas. One of the ones that we recently introduced to them is our goal is to make an A+ video every time. I don't even want to see a C+ video. I don't want to see it. Get it out of here. B-, you're on the line, but let's get up into an A- at the very least, like every time. And of course it's challenging, but how do you instill some of these goals with the team? Do you repeat them weekly? I know you said is there literally a board in the office that you're tapping every week or month?
It depends on the goal, depends on the team, right? Remote teams are a little different. Go-to team has people all over the United States, so the communication is different, more conference call and Zoom meeting than show up in the office to look at the board. But the answer is yes. Every goal should be tracked and paid attention to. Code and Trust, we just set a incredibly large BHAG to service and power over 500 startups in every state in the nation. And our goal is to be a nationwide company, being the official startup development firm to all of these software projects. And we are thrilled by that concept of being across the United States, working with a real big depth of client. And so for us, that goal is tracked. We have a spreadsheet at the moment with a website that's going to go live, web page, that is, here are the startups we've powered, and this list is on its way to 500, and we're going to track it as we move it forward. And that is our goal. So I love those goals. I love tracking them. I love being at that place where the team can know them. So, an interesting note, you're talking about event.gives, and before it was event.gives, back in the early days of us, Sam and our team working on the software that is now event.gives.
Bitter, right? It was bitter.
Yeah, Bitter was a incredibly innovative piece of software for the industry. However, back then, we were volunteer powered because most of the clients were the volunteers using the software. And our struggle in creating new software for people that might not be the most tech savvy was incredibly difficult. And we would have these brick house moments where we just want the software to work and work correctly all the time. Now, since then, we've gone well past that. And event.gives is an amazing software platform that we have iterated into a very brick house software, and something we can be very proud of. But that's not where it started. And every entrepreneur watching needs to know that you got to start somewhere. And we started with trying to help a client with a silent auction for a nonprofit. And we learned from that, and we built software, and we continued to grow, and we made a lot of mistakes along the way. And one of the things that we really ingrained into that company's ethos is that the software has to work and the event has to be successful. And that is our number one value. And now they've made it the tagline, which is fanatical customer success. Or excuse me, let me retake it. Fanatical. What did they say?
Fanatical about event success.
Event success. I was trying to lose the
You're
about.
close.
But so today it is fanatical about event success, because that needed to get to the core of the product, and it's what we heard from the client. The client wants to know we're on their team and we're designing software that's going to help them, but it is going to work, and their event is going to be successful. And so I'm thrilled by that tagline. It's exactly what that company needs to focus on.
It really is. And I have one of my favorite stories that I heard recently. I'm not sure if you've heard this, but so event.gives went to the NAA, the National Auctioneer Association, and auctioneers are they desperately need the help of Event.Gives. Before Event.Gives, they are using paper. They're using all these incredibly time-consuming and labor-intensive processes that literally Event.Gives eliminates all those difficult things, makes it so easy. So I believe 3 team members went out. I think it was Candace, Carrie, somebody else. But so anyways, 3 team members. And so they're doing what they do. They're very productive, very knowledgeable, very social, all of them. And so they're going out talking to everybody. And one of the guys says, oh, well, where are the other 3 girls that are here? There were only 3 of them, but because they were so busy at the event, everyone assumed that there were 6 of them. And I think that's the energy that they bring to these events. Okay, so you mentioned Go-To Team, the fact that y'all are all remote. You're talking about how important it is for the team to know these big goals, because that guides the work that they do, and that guides the mindset, I would imagine, that they have. How do you get 25 different locations united behind this single message?
Well, the key to any large organization is good leadership and good people running that mission, right? And I think our directors of photography are the best in the United States. But on any given day, they are focused on making that client's one shoot go well. And that's what they should be doing. That is absolutely the mission to which we have laid out for them. And there are coordinators and managers who are looking at the larger picture, making sure they know where they're going to be tomorrow, and that the marketing has been done so they have somewhere to go next week. And so I think that it is incredibly important that you build systems into your business that have managers and people making sure they're paying attention to the bigger picture, so that the other people that have their unique skill providing that particular service, they can focus on that at that moment. So to me, that's the key. And so with the BHAG, or a goal that we're setting for the management team, they know it, they're tracking it, they're paying attention. And the director of photography who's going on a shoot, they know where they fit into that scheme. They know where the entire team is going. But at that moment, we just need them to hit the one home run, right? We don't need them to be thinking about the whole season. We don't need them to be thinking about the merch that got sold, in the stadium. They don't need to be thinking about any of that. They need to be focused keenly on that ball that's coming to them and hitting a home run. So I think there is that balance that we have to strike and get correct, which is, we're here to provide this particular widget. Let's get every single one of them correct. To your point, we want all A+ videos. Above that, we need to have a group of people that are thinking about the long-term vision and where we're going to go.
I enjoy the segmentation, and that I think is another mark of an expert. You hear from professional athletes all the time, what was your mindset in this game? I'm focused on this at bat. I'm focused on this pitch, this play. Like, I'm not looking at the season. I am focused, and it takes expertise, concentration, knowledge to do that.
If you build the right incentive systems, which is, it's literally what I do for a living. It is one of my straight across the plate skills that I realize I'm good at, is building an incentive system that allows everyone to participate in the way that they come to the game, and ultimately all of them together are going to help us win the game, right? Mm-hmm. And so when we're building out even the most simple compensation structure, right? I'm talking about those director of photographies that are boots on the ground, they're about to go do a shoot. I want them to know that they're getting paid for doing that shoot. I want them to know that they'll get paid more if they do better on that shoot. They will get booked on more assignments and better assignments and closer to what they want if they do good on that shoot. Mm-hmm. So everything about that incentive system incentivizes them from their compensation to do more shoots and do them as high quality as they possibly can. And all of that rolls up into the manager's compensation, which is now I need you to understand the bigger goal and be attached to that compensation so that everybody knows I'm going to get what I want in life if I am accomplishing the piece of the goal that I'm responsible for.
Talking about footage, now you're speaking my language. Okay, so how do you assess these DPs, and how do you assess if they did superlative at the event and they're eligible for this extra bonus?
Well, the first thing is always listen to the client, right? Understand from the client. We have plenty of clients, Fox Sports and NBC News and others, who have used us for many, many years, and they use us very often, and we're able to communicate with them, even if this is the first time they're using Joey, the director of photography, that they will come back to us and give us feedback. Joey was phenomenal. He did great. Joey could do these other things. Maybe we're hiring another position for them, and they're going to give us feedback on that. So always listening to the client and making sure that the client got what they wanted at the end of the day. The next piece is feedbacking that loop back into the director of photography. So we're listening, but then we're also providing that in a constant flow back to them. Hey, the shoot went well. Feel like everything went well. How did you feel like it went? Oh, they're communicating. Oh, that's good. And then the client says something different. Now we're going to go back to them. Hey, you felt like it went well. The client did not feel like it went well, right? So that creating feedback loops from your client and listening, that is crucial. Sending out surveys to anyone. I mean, now I'm going into the digital space, but when we talk about event success with event.gives, having an event and then ensuring that we understand how did the event go, what could have been better, what can our team to help that nonprofit next time.
I love that. So circling back to kind of the BHAG for Code and Trust. So I love what you said. You guys got a wonderful goal. 500 startups all across all 50 states. Is there a time limit on that one?
That one is not. No time.
Okay.
No time.
Well, so let me ask you this. I've heard a little bit, well, actually quite a lot. I watch all your stuff. But so I know a little bit more about what Code and Trust does than your average bear. But who is a perfect fit for what you guys do? Who is out there right now that desperately needs help from Code and Trust?
Entrepreneurs and corporations that are baking out a new piece of software. They miss some of the easy cheat codes, hacks that we have to help launch a new piece of software quickly and do it in a way that we're listening to the market and iterating on exactly what needs to be produced. A lot of times we will hear of startups that are coming into our building that they have outsourced a particular software product, and they come to us and go, we had the worst experience. The time zone's horrible. They don't seem to understand what we're trying to produce. And the way that I tell that story back to them is you went to a restaurant and there is no menu because no one has ever cooked this meal before. And you are blindly going to describe what you think you want to eat to a waiter. The waiter's going to go back to the chef, and the chef is going to try with the things that he has in the kitchen to cook something that meets with what you thought. And at the end of the day, they're going to deliver it back out to you, and it's going to be edible, so you're going to have to pay for it. But it's going to be nothing like what you want to eat. And in the case of Code and Trust, what we're trying to do is establish for you a very clear plan, a blueprint of exactly what we heard you or your customer is looking for. And now we're going to package it together in our phase one. We're going to make sure everybody understands what we're trying to accomplish and show you the full vision of what we plan on doing. We're going to build a custom menu for you at this moment. Then when we get all that right, helping you with your competitive analysis and your entire layout of your software, making sure that it's presented in a way that the consumers in America are going to understand it. We're then going to hand it to a bunch of software developers who think like entrepreneurs, who are trying to get this right for you and are going to push back. In both places, phase 1 and phase 2, we are going to be opinionated, coming back to you on this is exactly what we think you need. Does it meet with what you are looking for? And if the two answer, then we'll move on. And if they're not, then we'll slow down and we'll come back and figure out what works.